Let me introduce you to the Gallatin Valley Interfaith Association, or GVIA. A wide variety of Bozeman's religious and spiritual traditions are represented in the GVIA, including Roman Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, Unitarian Universalist, LDS, Quaker, Buddhist, Baha'i, Unity, Dances of Universal Peace and the Sufi Message, and multiple mainline Protestant denominations. Clergy and members of these congregations and groups gather monthly to support one another, to address social and spiritual issues, and to share in the life of each other's traditions. The interfaith celebration of the 6th night of Hanukkah on Zoom last December was pretty amazing. The GVIA is a community of interest and shared place. While our identities and practices are diverse, they are respected and celebrated. We believe that we can accomplish more by working together than we can by working separately. I invited the current moderator of the GVIA, Jody McDevitt, to tell more of this community's story.
Our country is really diversifying, and we're becoming aware of that. And around 2000 or so, we in the Gallatin Valley realized, we're a lot more than just Christian churches here. We have all kinds of other diversities present. And we still have, among those diversities, lots of common ground. We should be working together. So we changed what was a ministerial association of Christian churches into an interfaith association so that all the different religious traditions could be equally considered as valid and having an important voice to offer to religious witness in our community, and working together to do good things for the common good. I have found that the interfaith associations are so important to me. They make me a better Christian because I am, instead of just humming along like, oh, everybody knows what we believe, I have to come to a better understanding of an articulation of what I believe and why I do what I do as a Christian. And I learn things from my interfaith neighbors that enhance who I am as a person and my personal growth as a person of faith. I've adopted some things, some language and some ways of understanding the world that I think are very consistent with Christian understandings, but they've been influenced by my interfaith neighbors, I think, positively. So I'm grateful for that. So the GVIA is a really fun group of people in this time where things are so polarized. This is a group of people who like to get together in spite of their differences and work together for the common good of our community. It's a diverse group. It's an interesting group of people. We have some folks who come, like Father Leo is consistently there. He has this very large Catholic parish that he is the priest for and the pastor for. And then we have some who come, and they are only a handful of people in the community who follow that same religious path. And yet we're all equal around that circle and that table there of sharing our faith and working together for the good of the community. One challenge is that not everybody buys this idea of interfaith work, and not everyone sees the value of it. So we don't have every religious group in the community represented by any means. Those who are of a more conservative Christian bent tend not to see this as a valuable thing to do. So they choose not to be part of the group. One of the things that results in is that those who are part of the group for the most part, tend to be of a more liberal bent, um, and want, but at the same time, we have, I think it's really important, we have like the Catholic tradition and we have the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which are both by their nature conservative bodies. Doesn't mean that everyone in it is conservative across all the different kinds of spectrums where you measure liberal and conservative, but they just have traditions and ways of looking at the world that tend to be more conservative, and they are really important to keep in our midst. In both cases, they're very committed to being interfaith and being part of this group, but sometimes it gets a little challenging for them to stay in there and not feel like they're being drawn into a ultra liberal group. So stay with all the politics of today, that's challenging, to stay together when we're diverse and continue to respect one another and listen to one another and give up some of your own particular passions for the sake of being united. What is it? We're not uniform, but we are united. So that's then another challenge would be that we're not that big of a group. We don't have as much influence as we wish we had. We became an interfaith association. Some really good mission statement was written. And then, I don't know, 10 years into that, we realized that, we didn't all agree to what that mission statement meant and how that held together. So we came up with our vision statement, or maybe it's the opposite. I can't remember which one's which. I think the mission's the first one, it's top of the page, then come our values. That's what came up. What are our values? And we use those to kind of draw us back together and say, all right, how are we going to operate as this association? We didn't have common understandings of how we were to operate, but we wanted to agree to those, and so we did. And for many years, the price of admission was $10 per person per year, and which is obviously a nominal amount. And if you forgot to pay, well, that's, we just forgot. There wasn't any checking at the door to see if you had paid your dues. But probably about 6 years ago, there was an effort to say, if we really want to do something, we need to have more than $116 in our treasury, which was probably about the average amount that we had. And if we really wanted to do something, we should have some standards for membership that would involve committing an amount of money from the institutions that we represented. So we went through a process of deciding how we would up our institutional strength. And we settled on a membership structure that relates to the size of the congregation that we represent. And we said we should have 2 people from each congregation would have votes when we took votes, which doesn't really happen that much, at least not votes that have any controversy to them. But we wanted to have those institutional guidelines, and so we increased the membership expectation, and doing that led to a treasury actually growing, and we've been able to do some things like pay for half-page ads in the Chronicle, where before we always relied on a letter to the editor, which was free. And we've been able to sponsor some things, give $500 to the Fork and Spoon, or been able to do a few small efforts together. Interfaith Forum started with Stan Rosenberg, who was a rabbinic associate at this tiny little Jewish community, Beth Shalom. And he had an idea when they actually got a building that they should have some events in the building that would draw the community in and help people not be afraid of having a synagogue in Bozeman. So he came to me one day and he said, I would like to have this event and I'd like to have a panel of you and Father Leo and the three traditional Catholic, Protestant, Jew division of American religion represented. And we had about 40 people show up. And it turned out to be an interesting topic. But I think there was a hunger for interfaith communication and understanding and curiosity about the synagogue that drew people in. And Rabbi Ed came and he saw an opportunity to do something more substantial. And so he also saw the opportunity to bring in the Muslim voice. So we'd have the Abrahamic traditions would all be represented. It's really grown so that we grew beyond the capacity of Temple Beth Shalom and moved to Resurrection Catholic Parish. And we expanded who could be on the panel beyond the Abrahamic religions to a rotating group of other religious traditions. And we're kind of creating an atmosphere and environment in the community that encourages learning from each other. Always had a desire to learn from each other and each other's traditions. And so I would like that to keep growing and include more traditions. We also have this sometimes competing drive to improve our community and care about the poor and the vulnerable in our community. And if we could be bigger players in that, I think that would be great. Most of the time, and I think this is a good strategy at this point, we do that by working with the nonprofits and other organizations in the community that are good at it, like HRDC. We can't recreate that kind of a structure, and we shouldn't even try, but we can support HRDC in its efforts, and we can bring our various congregations into more connected with the programs for the poor and the vulnerable. Another thing that should be said is that Family Promise was birthed by GVIA folks coming together and saying, we should be doing something for the homeless in our community, an interfaith housing network.
Many thanks to Jody for telling part of the GVIA's story. If you'd like to attend an interfaith forum or learn more about the Gallatin Valley Interfaith Association, check out the website, gvinterfaith.org.